All right, what is going on? We're going to be getting into the show at around the 2 minute, 2.5 minute mark, somewhere in there. Today, we are talking about athletes' mentality around training. We're going to be talking about what it is that creates this mentality that athletes feel like they always need to be going harder, and they can never just. Oh, um, having some trouble with the broadcasts. Apparently, we're going to see if we can sort that out before we get going. As you tune in, I apologize, having a couple of internet issues, I think. So if I'm a little choppy, then I apologize for that. But hopefully, this can get sorted pretty quickly. We're going to be getting into the show in just about a minute, but as you tune in, if you've tuned into the show before, make sure to let me know. I always love it when we've got returning people. Just having trouble with one of the streams and trying to see if I can sort that out. I hope you guys are all doing fantastic. I appreciate you guys all tuning in. Much love from Ontario, Canada. I'm actually from Ontario. Thanks for that. Good seeing you here. Good seeing you here. I appreciate you. Just seeing if I can fix this live stream. Instagram does not seem to want to do it for me today. So TikTok, you're officially my favorite platform. In Timmins, nice. I'm from Ottawa, so I don't know if that's super far. I've definitely heard of Timmins before, but I'm not sure exactly where it is. Do I train? Yes, I do. Right now I'm bulking, so it might not be the most obvious that I do, but I swear I do. So hi from Niagara. I'm actually in Calgary, but I actually am from Ottawa, so Ontario's always got a really nice place in my heart. 6 or 8 hours away, you say? Nice. Yeah, I've definitely been out near Niagara before, and I'll have to check out Timmins too. As far as BJJ and Muay Thai and all that, no, I don't. Actually, right now, I've dabbled a little bit, and then through COVID and through building a business and all that kind of stuff, it did fall off. But that's actually one of my biggest things for 2023 is getting back into all of that stuff. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you being here. I will make sure to share the link to the podcast as well, so that people can tune in if you haven't tuned in before. You know what? It does not look like this internet issue is going to sort itself out. So TikTok is connected. A couple of the other streams are connected. Let's get into the podcast for today. All right. And okay, so we're going to get into the show. We are talking today about athletes' mentality around training. So let's get into the show here in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the number one show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. So our topic for the episode today is about training and the athlete's mentality around training. More and more, I see the mentality being present in the world of elite performance sport of you always need to be the hardest worker in the room. And I understand where that comes from. I understand why people feel this way. And I understand why athletes focus on it so much. However, you need to understand that people are taking this mentality far too extreme. Let me explain what I mean. If your training is designed around showing people how tough you are and how much you can endure, you're breaking your body down and you're not allowing it to actually be rested and actually be healthy by the time you compete. So this all gas, no brakes approach to training is not what is actually going to serve you long term. The reason this isn't going to serve you long term, because if your focus is making your training as hard as possible, you're missing out on the actual purpose of training, which is to win when you actually compete. And when people take this mentality of all gas, no brakes, or always be the hardest worker in the room, and all of these things to the extreme, this is what starts to happen. They forget that the purpose of being in the gym, the purpose of the training you're doing, the purpose of all of it, everything that you're working on, everything that you're doing, the purpose is to win when you compete. And if your focus is simply on making it as hard as possible, if your focus is simply on pushing harder than every single person around you, you're losing out on the actual focus of training and where it needs to be, which is setting yourself up for victory. So today, we're going to be talking through how to get out of your own way when it comes to training and how to actually properly prepare yourself for competition instead of massively overdoing it and ending up either injured or gassing out early and losing when you actually fight. So the first point we need to address on this is that, like we said, the goal of training is to properly prepare yourself for competition. So as an example, if you're a pro MMA fighter, the goal of your training is to best prepare yourself for a 3 to 5 minute round fight with 1 minute rest between each round. So understand that the most hours in the gym doesn't win. The person who is the best prepared for a 3 5-minute round fight is the one who's going to win when the fight actually happens. So going the hardest doesn't best improve your skills. Going the hardest doesn't best improve your conditioning. Being the last one out of the gym does not mean you got the most out of your training. All it means is you were the last one out of the gym. So what do we need to train? What do we need to change? Number one, you need to get fucking strong. I understand that spending time strength training, you feel right now, is taking away from the time that you could spend working on your skills. But if you're not strong, you don't have the ability to implement that skill set against a bigger, stronger opponent to the degree that you need it. So if you want to be able to overwhelm your opponent, if you want to be able to take over your fight, you need to be stronger than your opponent is so that you can hit harder, you can control them, and you can stop them from controlling you. Number two is proper conditioning. So what I see when I talk to athletes about conditioning is I see a lot of people that are going for these crazy long runs. They're going for, 1, 2, 3 hour runs just to show how hard they can go and how long they can go and how hard they can push, which is all well and good that you can push for a really long time. But again, remember, your goal is to prepare for a 3 5-minute round fight. So the goal is to be the best possible, to have the best possible preparation for 5 minutes of work followed by 1 minute of rest, repeated 3 to 5 times. In what universe do you think your ability to go slowly for 3 hours closely reflects your ability to be explosive, be fast, be strong for 5 minutes at a time? They're just not the same. So you're taking this mentality of, I need to be the hardest worker in the room. I need to go harder than everybody. I need to show everybody how tough I am, how hard I can go, how much I can endure. And you're shooting yourself in the foot by overtraining and spending your time focused in areas that aren't doing anything for you when it comes to the actual competition you're trying to compete in. So by learning how to condition yourself properly, learning how to balance aerobic work with anaerobic work, as well as with strength training, as well as with your skills training, this is how you're actually going to properly prepare for the demands of the sport, which is the actual goal of conditioning work when it's done properly. So anaerobic work helps you recover between repeated explosive efforts. So if you had to guess, which do you think would apply more to a fight? Your ability to hold one pace for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or your ability to explode, relax, explode again, and relax, and repeat that for a shorter duration of time? I'm going to let you think about that one for a second, but I'll tell you, the answer is number two. This doesn't mean that you don't need aerobic work, but what it means is you can get more out of the time that you're spending. If you're going for 3 hour runs right now, I want you to understand that your ability to run 3 hours does not make you better when you step into the ring or step into the cage. Your ability to run 3 hours makes you better at running 3 hours. That's it. If you want to improve your ability to implement your skill set as a mixed martial artist, as a boxer, as a Muay Thai fighter, a kickboxer, a jiu-jitsu athlete, whatever it might be, the conditioning work you do needs to better prepare you for the demands specific to the sport. So, number 3 that you need to start changing about your training is recovery. If you are not recovering, you are beating your body down. Yes, while you train, your body is going to hurt. Yes, while you train, you're going to be sore, things are going to feel tight, and you are going to need to train on days where you don't feel good. However, you need to work on these areas. When a shoulder that just doesn't quite feel right isn't bouncing back the way that it used to, that's not just part of the game. That's not, something you just always work through. That's your body trying to tell you something's wrong. And that's not to say anytime anything hurts, you shouldn't train through it. But all I'm saying is when things like that pop up, you need to spend time working on them so that you can work through them better. And if you can work through them better, you can better implement your skills on the night of the fight. You can continue to see the actual results of why you're training in the first place. So do not just mindlessly push through injury talking about what a warrior you are. Actually spend time focused on working through those tight areas, those sore areas, that painful spot that just won't quite go away. And if you spend time working on that, that's not you being soft. That's not you being a pussy. That's not you being weak. That's you being smart and understanding you want your career to last. You want to be doing this for a long time. You don't want to be forced out of the sport with injuries next month. So the question coming off of that talk about recovery, the question I have for you is, do you want to be a warrior or do you want to win on fight night? Do you want to be a warrior or do you want to win when you're actually fighting? Because yes, you're going to need to train hard. Yes, you're going to need to push yourself. In no way, shape, or form am I telling you that that is not fact. Because I get a lot of people saying that to me when I preach this kind of message of being smarter about your training. I get a lot of people telling me, what, are you saying that I don't need to work hard? Are you saying that, hard work's not important? No. Hard work is extremely important if you're going to be successful in anything. And absolutely in combat sports as well. However, recovering and keeping your body healthy is going to allow you to implement your skills at a higher level. And if you can implement your skills at a higher level, guess what? You're going to win more fights. That's just how that works. And this isn't taking away from the skill work you need to do. This isn't taking away from the conditioning work you need to do. This is just making sure that you're properly balancing all of this so you can be strong, fast, well-conditioned, have a good skill set, and be healthy when the fight comes around. So I feel like I went on a little bit of a rant there, but I hope that was extremely valuable. Because if you are healthy and recovered and your opponent is not, you are going to have an advantage over them. Because if you are healthy and recovered, you will have a better opportunity to implement your game plan and in turn win the fight. So another thing you guys need to understand when it comes to properly balancing your training and focusing on doing the right work instead of just doing more work is doing the most skill work isn't necessarily beneficial. If you've been training for a few years, you know what you're doing. Instead of just putting in more hours, you need actual intention on the skills you're trying to improve. And in turn, you can actually make more progress. So it's not just about, hey, I'm going to go to the gym and be there for 4 hours and work on a bunch of different shit. If you can be there for 2 hours, but you can have a plan of these are the skills I'm working on, these are the improvements I'm trying to make, and when I make those improvements, I'm done. Now you're going to get more out of your day, and you're going to recover better so that you can get more out of tomorrow too, because you're not spending hours upon hours of just mindless grinding time on skills that you may or may not actually be finding any improvement with. So understanding how to balance the skill work with getting stronger, being more powerful, being in better condition allows you to not only continually improve your skills over time, but it allows you to implement them at a higher level while you fight. This is crucial if you are going to win. I see so many athletes and I speak to so many athletes who talk about how they don't have time to, you know, do strength work, or they don't have time to, do recovery work, or, do any of this quote unquote extra stuff because it's taking away from their skill work. And if you are skipping out on improving yourself physically just to spend more hours on your skill might be greater, but you won't be able to execute it at the same level, because if you hit if you have pillow hands, I was trying to find another analogy for it, but it wasn't coming to me. If you have pillow hands and you can't hit hard, then your opponent can walk through one or two punches to just take you down and control you. Or if you have the greatest skills in the world, but you have the gas tank of a child, and after you throw 3 or 4 punches, you're starting to feel exhausted, your opponent is going to be able to weather the early storm and in turn take you down, control you, or just dominate you in whatever area of the fight they want. Does that make sense? Because this seems like such common sense to me, but I have so many discussions with athletes that they don't seem to understand it. They don't seem to understand that being stronger, being more powerful is actually going to have a positive effect on their careers. So I hope that makes sense, because again, this is not an all or nothing answer, because I want that to be clear as well. I'm not telling people that they shouldn't be improving their skills. I'm not telling people that skill work's not important. I'm not telling people that all you need to do is be a good athlete. But if you're a great martial artist and a terrible athlete, you're only going to go so far. If you're a great athlete and a terrible martial artist, you're only going to go so far. But understanding how to balance all of these areas, your strength, your power, your speed, your conditioning, your skills, your recovery, your nutrition, that is going to be the athlete that makes it to the top. Not just the one who's in the gym for the most hours, not just the one who works on their skills for the most hours, not any one of those. It's the one who can balance it and put it all together that's actually going to be the most successful. Now, I really want to make this clear as well, because I know there are going to be some people that are listening to this that are saying, this guy's telling me to spend less time in the gym. This guy's telling me not to work as hard. This guy's telling me this or that. Stop. I am not telling you not to work hard. I'm not telling you to spend less time in training. What I'm telling you is to be smarter about how you're spending your training. So, one of the things that I do see a lot of athletes get stuck with this mindset, though, is struggling with, the way they've always done things. They've always worked every single minute of every single day. They've always, been the guy who spends 6 hours at the gym every day. They've always, done all of these things. And so the thought of taking it back, the thought of dialing it back, the thought of not being in the gym every single day is hard to handle. Plus, they're going to have teammates around them that are going to be, have a thing or two to say about, oh, you're taking Friday off. Like, what are you, soft or something? Some kind of crap like that. And, or pressure from other people or your own ego is going to make you feel like you need to do more. Mentally, you make yourself feel like you aren't doing enough. And if you're hearing this and that's resonating with you, that like, okay, I get what you're saying. I need to be smarter. I need to train differently. I need to make some changes. But, mentally, I just I can't. I need to be grinding hard. And if I'm not grinding hard, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. Then this is where the mental training comes into. Because again, remember, the goal of training is to win. The goal of training, if you are trying to compete and build a career in a sport, is to win. That's why you're here. And so if you're understanding from listening to this that you need to start taking better care of your body, if you're understanding from listening to this that you need to maybe train a couple less hours and spend that time focused on recovery, or spend a couple less hours in the martial arts gym and a couple more building your strength and your power, but you're worried about what somebody else is going to say about it, or you're worried about, what your coach is going to think, your family's going to think, your teammates are going to think, whatever. I need you to understand what you can control. You can control getting to your fight healthier. You can control being in a better mental place. You can control the skills you bring to the fight. And regardless of what you do, regardless of how you spend your time, regardless of how hard you train, people are going to talk shit. So what matters to you more? Abiding to these people that are talking shit, or making every dream you had in your career come true? Because the answer is simple. The answer is right there. It's not easy to accomplish any of these things, but the answer is right there. If you are going to be successful as an athlete, you need to be strong. You need to be fast. You need to be explosive. You need to be smart so that your body can hold up long term. So if you want to succeed as an athlete, you need to learn how to push those thoughts, push those feelings, push those people away when they're talking shit, and understand what you can control, which is getting to each and every competition at your best, bringing the highest level skill set you can, bringing the highest level of athleticism you can, and in turn, making sure that you are getting the most out of your career for you. You have one shot at this, so how badly do you want? So that is it. That is all. I hope you got some value from this. I hope this makes sense. If you're new to the show, make sure to go check it out on all major podcast platforms. That is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is you find your podcasts. And my one ask of you, if you've gotten value from these live streams, these podcast episodes, depending on where you're listening to this, go share this with a teammate, share this with a friend, share this with somebody who needs to hear this message. That is the way these shows get out. That is the way these shows reach more people. My goal this year is to start making a bigger impact through this podcast and through my company. And we do that through you. So thank you all for tuning in. I greatly appreciate you taking the time. I do have to run, but I will talk to you all again tomorrow.